Just playing more Retro Bowl otherwise.
Yes.
Nobody needs to hear anymore about how many Super Bowls I won. So
Tell me, you man.
I'm not actually sure. I got an achievement for 10 Super Bowls. So victories.
You're going to be the winningest coach.
Yeah.
And GM. And
I took the Jacksonville Jaguars all the way.
Yes.
Just because that was the shit team that they gave to me, at the start. I'm like, let me pick Seattle. I'm like, no, we recommend you pick like the shit team, and then start from that. I'm like, and then I stuck with them because I drafted players. You get used to that.
You get attached, yeah. You get attached,
and then you win 10 to 12 Super Bowls or whatever.
The rules.
Yeah, you get attached. But
I had players retire. Yeah.
I'm also, not that we're going to end up talking about this, but I'm kind of shocked that you're playing Elden Ring. Like, of all the people on our podcast, that is the one who's playing Elden Ring right now.
I mean, I don't have anything to play it on.
Yeah.
It plays on PS4.
I don't think so.
Supposedly. I saw somebody tweet and say Elden Ring on PS4 is basically running in stop motion or something like that.
I don't think that would, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
No, the impetus was I've got the new system. And, I played a decent amount of Dark Souls.
That's true. Yeah, I kind of forgot
Switch.
I forgot that you dug into that one pretty decent.
Yeah. So I knew some of the language of those type of games, I guess. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear about it when we do, because I haven't been impressed by anything I've seen. Not that I ever am like super compelled, but like Sekiro, I was like, oh, this looks cool. Like, and Elden Ring, I'm like, looks like more of the same that I'm not interested in.
I have no words to say.
Yeah, but I know a lot of my favorite developers keep talking about how much they like it, so that's always fun to see.
Universal praise I've seen.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
I think the only people who I've seen
to talk about.
The only people who I've seen that have been like down on it, or like it's not as close to their like pet favorite one. Like it's like, this isn't as close as it is to Demon Souls or Dark Souls 2. Like the real freaks who love
the good stuff. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey, everybody.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And we are back as always. We're clearly sponsored by NPR this week, as you can hear.
Journalistic excellence over here. Yeah.
Yes. We're troubleshooting some audio on our end, but hopefully things are smooth sailing. But as always, we're back to talk about some video games. And we don't really have much to preamble before we get into things, so I guess I'll get us started here with a game that I think I mentioned on a podcast recently, OlliOlli World. I think I just gave it like the quickest shout out. I think I pretty much just said I'm going to save it for another episode, and I think I'm going to try to keep it just short and concise here, because I was telling, I think it was you, Randall, in the Discord, and I've been a big fan of the OlliOlli series up until now, mostly just kind of playing OlliOlli 2. And there was like a bundle of OlliOlli, I think it was called Switch Stance on the Switch of the first two games.
Been playing those OlliOllis since like Wii U 3DS type of days.
Yeah, I guess those have been out for quite a while. Yeah, and OlliOlli World has been in development for quite some time, it seems, because OlliOlli 2 is, like you said, been out for quite some time. But yeah, I've really like it. When I first saw the game, I actually thought the game itself was in 3D because it has like kind of a low poly. Like, I don't know, the characters just have like a ton of personality, but it has like this 3D look where I thought the game was going to be kind of like, oh, we're maybe going to get more into Tony Hawk territory here with the gameplay or whatever. But it still kind of, for the most part, sticks to the 2D plane. It's essentially, like I was saying in the Discord, it's basically like a combination of Tony Hawk Pro Skater in the sense that you're doing like super crazy combos and, you can basically combo like an entire level together, but you're also like, you're executing the tricks and stuff more like you do in the skate games. So you're doing like little like Hadoukens on the joystick to do like pop shove it, or you're doing like if you just flick the joystick backwards, you're doing like a kick flip, and if you flick it forward, it's a heel flip. It's amazing, and it's so reflexive. And one of the things that they added in OlliOlli World, outside of like it being this like new 3D like presentation, and again, like OlliOlli 2 has a really great like clean presentation, and the soundtrack's great. It's more like it's one of those games that has like a jukebox soundtrack where you can just kind of like shuffle through the tracks. It's not like, oh, here's the song for this level or whatever. But all the games in the series have like just a great list of tunes, I guess. You know, it's just one great tune after another, but you can also cycle through them at the click of a button, which is really nice. But one of the things they added in this game is wall riding. So on top of being able to like do grabs and manuals and, you know, go in between all your tricks, they added wall riding. And then they also made everything just like a little bit easier. Like when you're doing like spins and stuff like that. Like I pretty much avoided doing like any kind of rotational spins, which are just for like racking up a higher multiplier on your combos and stuff. Like I think every 180 degrees you spin, you just get like a ×2 multiplier on that trick plus whatever trick you're doing. But yeah, it just feels so good to like chain everything together. And it just feels like a little smoother. Again, all the challenges, even like every level has like kind of a series of like, you know, 1, 2, or 3 different challenges, where in like the older games, it was kind of like really specific challenges where it was like, do a pop shove it over this specific gap 3 times. Like it was like almost like frustrating to have to go through, where in this it's kind of, they are specific challenges, but it's more like there's a bunch of different branching paths on the levels, and that's sort of where the 3D comes into play. Like you can kind of like, if you're on like this track, you can see like a fork in the road, and it's like you can basically hold down a button to take like the gnarly route or whatever, and sometimes you'd take the gnarly route by just like hitting a different grind or whatever. But they just made it like basically in the old games, like if you didn't land your trick at the perfect timing, like so when you after you do your little like Hadouken flick of the joystick or whatever, you would have to like time it almost like a rhythm game. Like you'd have to hit the jump button or whatever, or it's not the jump because you're not pressing a button to jump, but you press like the land button, I guess, to like get that timing. And if you didn't get that timing good, it would really kind of kill your momentum. And actually the way you would build momentum in the old games was by landing a grind at perfect timing, where in this game, you actually just build momentum by like holding down your like basically doing a kick push, you know, like you would in regular skateboarding. You don't have like kind of a mechanic. You're more like riding the slopes and whatever. But I really don't know what to say about this game other than, it's basically playing, like you get that sense of flow that you get from Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but you get that sense of like sort of almost feeling like you're, obviously it doesn't feel like real skateboarding, especially in this game. It's like super cartoony and over the top. You're not doing backflips or anything, but again, you're like chaining an entire level together, manualing. One of the cool things too is like you actually, like the manuals, I don't know how it worked in the past, but in this game you can do 3 manuals in a row, and then you'll get like a little indicator, almost like a Metal Gear Solid like exclamation point over your head. That's like, if you do another manual, you're just gonna land, like you're kind of unsteady. But if you're able to like clear a gap or hit a grind or something like that, then that kind of resets your balance. So I don't know, you just get such a sense of flow. But then it's also at the same time, I mean, the game itself is really like a precision platformer at heart. I mean, you are like doing these crazy timing, like it almost feels like. Again, it almost feels like you're playing something like Bit Trip Runner or whatever.
Yeah, like an auto runner. Yeah.
Yeah, and you do have a little bit of control over the speed, but yeah, like the personality, the tone of the game, like the game takes place in Radlandia, and you're trying to achieve Nirvana, and like the main like hero his name is Radicis, and like after you beat like the entire game, then you get like the Radicis challenges get added to each level, and I just really love how like you really can just go for like, oh, I just want to complete the stages. There's a bunch of checkpoints added. So like, oh, I can use the checkpoints, but then one of the challenges on each stage is just like beat the level with no checkpoints. And that's pretty much where I kind of capped my difficulty. I mean, I'm going for each stage also has like 3 local heroes, which are like high score. I know I said I was going to keep this kind of short on the OlliOlli end, but I just fucking love this game. Like, I seriously like, I've said it in the Discord and I've said it a few times. Like I would honestly put this like it's scratching up at Downwell here as like this is maybe one of my favorite games I've ever played in my life. I mean, it's just so fluid. Like I said, I've beaten it and I just kind of keep firing it up when I'm just like in the mood to play a game, like kind of in the same way I play Lonely Mountains Downhill, but this game like gives me a little more purpose and a little more drive to be like, I want to finish it, where like it's easier for me to get frustrated with Lonely Mountains Downhill and just be like, I just can't fucking beat this time or whatever that I'm trying to beat, where this is just like, okay, I'll just try to do it with no checkpoints. That's all I'm really going to go for. I don't care about the high scores, because in the first world, I'm just like ripping through like the local heroes, the top 3 scores like it's nothing. In the 5th world, it's like I got to get like 5 million points, and I'm like, how can I chain anything better than what I just did? But
yeah,
there's 5 different zones. They're planning on adding more DLC with like 2 or 3 more zones, I think. So I'm like beyond pumped to just get even more of this game. Yeah, I just can't get enough. Really loving every second of it. And I guess from there, I'm just going to keep the ball rolling and keep the ball rolling with a little dodgeball action. I've been playing some Dodgeball Academia lately, and this is a game I've been playing on Xbox Game Pass on my Xbox One. I've been getting a lot of mileage out of that Xbox Game Pass lately, and I kind of ended up kind of leaning into this one. I think our buddy Retza in the Discord had recommended this one as like, just like, oh, it's a really fun like dodgeball RPG. And like, obviously the first thing I think of, and probably you as well, Randall, are like those River City Ransom style dodgeball games. I think it was just Super Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. Yep.
Yeah, and I think they even remade that on the Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. There's definitely more than one. Yeah,
yeah. And just like a really fun, like that was more of like an arcadey experience. I think you maybe did have like a team and whatnot, but this is more like, I've been feeling a little bit of like that FOMO feeling. Well, everyone's been talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus lately. And again, like obviously I was thinking about maybe even picking it up, and John kind of thankfully talked me out of picking it up. And I'm really glad that I ended up firing up this game instead, because it really is it feels very similar. Like you can really feel the like original Pokemon influence, like in the sense that like, so basically you're like this kid that rolls into town, you're rolling into the Dodgeball Academy. And I've played about 3 hours of the game so far, and I just found out, I knew I like ran away from home, but I just found out that I actually like ran away from referee school. Like I was like, I don't want to be a referee. I want to be a dodgeball player. Like I'm not a square. So I really love, like I just was like arguing with my parents who just like hacked into like a computer bot. The game has like a really cool like art style. Like at first I thought it was like all hand drawn, but actually the characters are all hand drawn and like really like expressive, cartoony, like almost has like WarioWare character vibes to a lot of like, especially like the specific characters, like the teachers at the school and the principal and like your team and stuff like that. Like the characters just have like that really like over the top zany, I don't know, personality or whatever. They all just have like really distinct styles and vibes to them, but and it really kind of like quirky senses of humor. But then the world itself is kind of more like I don't want to call it low poly, but it's definitely like a 3D. Like I think I was saying too in the Discord, it kind of almost feels like a lost Dreamcast game, like in HD, of course. But even with like the music, it definitely has like a little bit of that Sega attitude.
Nice.
There's like some shredding guitar riffs. Like it definitely has that like Sega energy to the game. But basically it is like a Pokemon style structure to this RPG that like, again, it kind of plays out in like chapters that almost play out as like a day. At the end of the day, you go back to your dorm and sleep for the day, and then you have like a next, set of quests, and then there's like another, there's some optional battles. You can go and like fight some of the kids that are just like hanging out in the playground.
Nice.
But you can also just kind of follow the main path. I've been mostly just like, the way it's like structured is perfect for me. It's like showing every indicator on the map. Hey, here's all the optional battles. Here's the side quests. Here's the people, here's basically what you can do. And here's how you can like level up at this pace of the game. It's like, it's pretty much perfect. I'm really just like loving like how the game is like coming together basically. And every once in a while, like the pace gets thrown off by like, oh, this cutscene's like a little bit longer than normal. But for the most part, I'm really actually like enjoying the interactions between characters, the dialogue. And again, I'm not like, because it's like showing everything on the map, I'm never sitting there thinking like, oh, maybe I need to talk to that person because they might have an item I need. I just like know, okay, that's just a character that's going to maybe have some quirky dialogue that if I'm in the mood and I want to talk to everybody and I'm just chilling, cool. But if I'm like on a mission to get something done, I know they're like irrelevant to what I'm trying to get done here. But then obviously like the overall structure of the game is kind of like a Pokemon top-down RPG adventure. But then when you get to like and the reason I bring up Pokemon is because like you're actually like on like a route almost. It feels like you're like walking down the path. You have to go to the principal's office, but like there's a couple like students in your way that like almost like a trainer style in Pokemon that like as soon as you cross their path, like, hey, where do you think you're going? We got to have a match. And then of course the battles play out in dodgeball form, and it's like a really simple. Like it feels very similar to like those to Super Dodgeball, where it's
looks like it did. Yeah, I saw a couple of the clips that you posted on the Pursuing Pixels Twitter, and it does. It looks, obviously it's influenced by Super Dodgeball.
Big time. Yeah.
I did wonder, like, do you collect teammates, or do you just like primarily are that one character, and then kind of versions of that character are on your team? Because it looked like there was like 4 people at least on each side.
Yeah, you have like, it kind of depends, like each battle kind of shakes out different. Like sometimes there's just like a one-on-one duel, but you do have a team of 3. And like the first chapter, you're kind of like accumulating your team, and your third, you have Otto is like your main character, and then Mina is like your first partner that you meet along the way, and then your third part, actually the first other partner you meet is Balloony, but he doesn't actually decide to join the team until a little bit later, and then like basically in the last, like right when you need a partner to like enter the tournament, and he's like, all right, I guess I'm ready to play. Balloony is the best character, just so funny. Every time he like gets like bummed out, his whole face just like deflates. Nice. It's just so good. But like, again, the battles actually do get a little bit challenging. Like it's, it almost plays out like a fighting game almost, like where you have all these different meters. You obviously have your like health bars. You have a few different, like each character, at least as of right now, I can equip with up to 2 different items that are like, Otto, I have like equipped with, I forget what the items are, but it's like every time I hit an enemy, I recover like 5% health or something like that. Or, different, extra defense or extra strength. I forget what all I have equipped, but you can buy things at the store, or you can find them in various like, either, I don't know if they're trash bins or treasure chests. They're just kind of like receptacles around
into all that.
The place. Yeah. Oh, it's so great. And then, the battles, like you really have a kind of expressiveness. So basically you can like hold down and kind of charge up your throw. And then if you hold it down, eventually, if you hold it down long enough, you'll just release it automatically. But basically, the longer you hold it up or hold it down, the harder you throw it. But then also, if you hold down like forward on the joystick, you'll throw it even faster. If you hold down backwards on the joystick or like to the left or whatever, because it is playing from left to right, you kind of throw more like a change up. So it's like a slow ball. And that comes into play because so for example, Otto catches the ball. If I press like the catch button, if you time it perfectly, you catch the ball. You don't take any damage. With Mina, it's not a catch. You actually like kick the ball, and you like, it's like a counter, and you kick it back at the enemy. But every character kind of has their own, like when I do a charge shot with Mina, she like electrocutes everybody. So if I hit one person, it kind of like has a little bit of a spread, like shockwave attack, where like Otto has more of like just a fireball, so it's just more heavy damage on that one person. And I think they do actually takes like some burn damage over time. And then Balloony has like his ultimate move. Everybody has like their own like ultimate move. Balloony can heal the team. Otto has like a legitimately like does like a Hadouken. I know I brought up the Hadoukens with OlliOlli World, but like you actually like do like a super like dodgeball throw, and it hits like everyone in its path. It kind of like pierces through the enemies or whatever. But it's just, I don't know, it's just so much fun. The last battle that I just played, I just kind of went through the forest area, and even some of the battles were like kind of taking place in the tall grass, so you like kind of couldn't see what was going on. And there is like a versus mode. So as I've unlocked characters, it says like, oh, you now can play as them in versus mode. So it definitely seems like a game that would be really, really fun to play as like almost like a fighting game. You have a party mode, like almost like, playing like Puzzle Fighter or something like that. Like, it has that kind of energy to the battles where it easily could just stand alone as like almost that mode in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But like the pacing and the structure, and again, I'm just kind of really enjoying like the story and the tone of the game, and I don't know, I'm just having a great time with it. It's one of those games, like, you guys know how I am usually. I just kind of fire up a game and bounce around. And I know I've been a little better lately. Like, I've actually been trying to commit to like beating games, but those games that I have been beating have been in like the 4 to 5 hour range. They're still like on that short side, where like this one, I feel like it probably is going to be a little bit longer, but and again, I'm only about 3 hours in, but I'm feeling pretty determined to like want to keep playing more. I'm really, really enjoying my time with the game. And yeah, like the music really is enjoyable, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like I can just kind of ebb and flow with the game. Like, I'll have a podcast on in the background or whatever, and like, oh, here's like kind of a little cutscene. Although nothing's even really been to the point where I feel like, oh, I got to stop what I'm doing on the side and like really focus in on this game. I can really kind of almost passively play it and still feel like I'm fully focused in on it. Nice. I don't know. I'm having a blast. I really love it. And I'm hoping I'm not going to dive any more into it at this point, because I know we kind of talked about it a little in the Discord. And if you ever, no pressure, but if you end up playing at any point, Randall, because I know it seems like up your alley.
Oh, big time.
Like you've been saying, if you end up getting to it, I'll happily talk this again at any point, because and I may even very well on my own, because I'm just going to keep chipping away. It's going to be my kind of background game as I hope to see it through to the end. I'm really, really enjoying it.
I did install it. That's nice when that's the only barrier. It's just like the storage space of my system.
Yeah, but it's so much easier when I can say like, for like XO1, for example, that we just talked about, like that was like an easier, just like, oh, it's only like a 2-3 hour game. It's so much more enticing to want to fire that up and try it right away when like, this game could be 20 hours. It could, I'm getting the feeling so far, like it has its scope reined in where like, I'm getting the feeling it's going to be like 8 or 10. It's not going to really overstay its welcome, but I could be wrong. I've played a ton of games that definitely do that. So, but yeah, I'm loving it so far, and I guess I'll keep you posted if anything changes. But
nice.
I guess from there, why don't I throw it over your way, Randall, for some some retro action.
Always retro action.
Yes.
So retro action on modern platform though. So I'm going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons: Chronicles of Mystara. Yes. Which was initially an Xbox Live Arcade release in 2013.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never realized that those came out back then. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, well, actually, initially, these are a couple of arcade games that came out in 94 and 96, and then were released as a Japanese only collection on Sega Saturn in 1999.
Okay.
So, but yeah, finally we got access to these in 2013, and they've been on my radar forever. I had a Sega Saturn, I had the ability, but like this was like as a Saturn game, of course, way too expensive to get. Like every Saturn game that's worth its salt.
Right.
But because Microsoft has been very cool about the backwards compatibility stuff, this was available for me to download from having purchased it back in 2013 on my new Xbox Series X. So that's awesome, especially because I hadn't played through both of these games during that time. I'd only played through Dungeons and Dragons Tower of Doom, which was the first release in 94. So this is a 2-pack of these games. They're both beat-em-ups. They're both 32-bit beat-em-ups, and they look beautiful.
Yeah,
they look amazing.
Looking at them now, and it's the detail on these sprites. Good Lord.
I love it. Just that I'm such a sucker for the 32-bit art style.
Yes.
And they're massive sprites, too.
I was going to say, they make those massive sprites, but they actually look good. Like, because sometimes like you see some huge sprites on like Super Nintendo. There's some good ones, but sometimes you're like, it needs a little more detail, I think. And 32-bit, I think, is what it needs.
32-bit sprite art. Oh, I just love it.
It's the best. Yeah.
It is the best. So Tina and I played through both of these games, Tower of Doom and Shadow of Mystara. Yeah. So Tower of Doom is like, you can play through it in an hour, pretty breezy, beat 'em up. It's not really earth shattering in what it's doing. You got like 4 characters you can choose from. You can actually play this version 4-player, and online too, I think, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. Always love that, yeah.
Yeah. But, otherwise, generally a pretty standard, side-scrolling beat-em-up game with, a primary attack button, whether that's punch or kick and jump, and then you kind of have a secondary attack button that you can use a kind of like a ring of secondary weapons you can kind of scroll through and then like attack with that secondary weapon or whatever you've picked up. So there's item shops in both of these games as you're collecting treasure or gold or whatever off of enemies or out of treasure chests. You're collecting these coins, and then when you get to the end of levels, there's this really cute kind of first-person perspective item shop with like a troll or a lady or something behind the counter, and you just have like a cursor that's like a gauntlet or whatever represents your character, and then you just click on stuff until you run out of money, and that's a really fun thing. But yeah, that first game is like an hour, but it plays really well. It's nice where you're like, let's just play through a beat 'em up. Very similar vibes to a Turtles in Time or a Streets of Rage or something in that sense. Just like a really quick playthrough.
Yeah, sometimes you just want like a little romp of just a quick afternoon playthrough or something.
Totally. And it's not like it was that expensive of a collection in the first place. But then Shadow of Mystara expands on all of that, where now there's 6 different playable characters, at least at first. There's lots of branching paths Like both in levels and when you get to the end of levels.
Nice.
There are options where you can go this way or that way. Sometimes there's 3 separate options at a branch. So, I mean, have like in a playthrough, like, boy, there's got to be tons of different unique playthrough options you have to check out all these different branches. It's kind of overwhelming in a sense because it's took us about like 2.5 hours to play through the Shadow of Mystara, which is pretty long for a beat 'em up, actually.
Yeah, if you're picturing like standing in an arcade cabinet, like hovering over it and like holding it down for 2.5 hours, that's a long session.
It is, yeah. And generally, though, I'll say both of these games are pretty forgiving, especially through the first half or so of them. Like, if you know how to play a beat 'em up, you're not going to run into too many issues until about like halfway through. Then the difficulty ramps up, and still I would say that difficulty is mostly only with like boss and like mini boss encounters. Otherwise, you're just kind of like holding court. You're also gaining levels for your characters, between stages. It just feels really good to play. I'm not sure that I would put it quite on like a Streets of Rage 4 or 2 type of tier, but it's pretty dang good. These are pretty top tier beat 'em ups still, though. I was going to
ask, like, is the difference in paths like just the different bosses and levels you encounter, or does it like actually have like do they all like funnel back to like the same end boss?
That's a good question. That part I don't know because we only played through both of these once. But that's a good question. I wondered that too. But there's branches on branches. Like, if it did get back to that, it'd be kind of interesting to see that out. And it's kind of cool because there's a built-in replayability that way too, right?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's like one of the few things that like even the classic beat 'em ups like Turtles in Time or Streets of Rage maybe suffer from is like once you've played them a couple times, you're kind of, unless you're like sitting down with a buddy who hasn't played it, or you're just like have a co-op experience can definitely add a little flavor to it. But if it's,
or you just like, I want to play this thing that I have memorized, because there's always
the comfort level of that.
100%
for sure.
Yes, I played every conceivable combination of Star Fox 64 levels, but
yes.
Me too.
Yes. Yep. No, that's super exciting, and I'm definitely like, they just announced that huge Turtles collection of beat 'em ups. I know who knows? I shouldn't say just announced, because by the time this episode comes out, it'll be probably at least a month or so ago. But that collection, they're going all out, man.
I know
every Turtles game ever, like up to this point, pretty much. It seems like Game Gear stuff like that, but definitely all the beat 'em ups and then some.
Yeah, there's all the beat 'em ups, which, like, again, we're talking about retro game prices. So like Hyperstone Heist on Sega Genesis is goddamn over $200 game. Like, it's
geez.
And that's just one of them, right? So and let alone there's like the Turtles Tournament Fighter game when everybody had to make a Street Fighter game. Yeah, and like Tournament Fighters is actually supposed to be a pretty competent fighting game. So like this would be my opportunity to kind of check that out, legitimately. I'll probably buy the collection physically on Switch.
I'm planning on getting it as well, yeah.
With these type of collections, it's weird to see these come out, and I'm like, oh, I've got most of these games that I wanted because I was able to buy them for, $10, $5, back before everyone cared about retro games.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still, Turtles in Time still stands up as one of the best beat 'em ups of all time. So even just to have that on my Switch is like, okay, cool. But then you throw in every other Turtles game that's ever come out alongside it. It's like, okay, I'm in. Easy in, not to mention that I'm so pumped for that new one.
Yeah.
So
the first NES Turtles game is trash. I don't care what people think about
I don't know if I would say trash, but it's okay until you get to the dam. Let's just say that.
Turtles. The first Turtles arcade game is actually really great too, though. So it's nice to see that there too. And those are online.
And the Manhattan Project too.
Yeah, which is
the Turtles 3, which is basically like the same format as the Turtles arcade game on NES, but just new levels and stuff. It's really cool. Really cool stuff. Yeah. Now I want to play some beat 'em ups, so I guess we'll have some coming our way soon. But in the complete opposite direction here, but to keep the D's rolling, keep the theme,
the dungeon
theme rolling. Yes, John digging into his resolution game early this year, getting it out of the way. Which
it could be my late resolution game because I thought it was my resolution game for 2021.
I also
Finally
thought it was yours. And to be fair, Randall and I sort of semi put the pressure on you here.
Oh,
with this.
man.
Least,
No,
I shouldn't say put the pressure on, but we brought it up and kind of. I feel a little sense of guilt.
What? No, there's no
but
guilt.
not really, because I'm pumped that we're all playing this game right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But why don't you take the lead here?
So yeah, I've been playing Dicey Dungeons, my resolution game for 2022, and I wanted to start off by asking you, both of you guys, how many episodes have you completed in the game? Because there are 6 characters, and they each have 6 episodes, like 6 numbers on a die for a dice.
Yeah.
So like there's 36 episodes in total of the first main game, and then there's 3 additional episodes in the Halloween DLC that's included in it.
Yeah, and we're playing on Switch because I know there was recently a Halloween, or not Halloween. There was recently a Christmas episode that was like put out at the end of the year, but I think it was only on the PC or like the Steam version or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was even made like with the community. I don't know that it was like made specifically by Terry Kavanagh. I think it was like kind of, maybe that's why it's not on the Switch version, but it was kind of like a fan. I just remember seeing him like tweet something about it and like, oh, like all the people that came together to make this happen. It sounded cool. So It made me intrigued. But I personally, I've unlocked so I haven't unlocked the 6th character, but I have the 5 characters unlocked. Mm-hmm. And then I have beaten the first chapter with 3 of those 5 characters, but I actually haven't. And I've played a little bit of like the second chapter with a couple of the characters, but I haven't beaten those.
We're basically at the exact same point. Yeah, I think I've got 7 chapters beat. I haven't beaten any of the witch chapters, even though I've tried several times.
I've played with each character for sure, at least a couple times.
It's very specific with the witch in general. I also have not beaten a single witch.
Very
level.
hard.
Man. But I have beaten.
Which, to be fair, that is how it seems to be structured. Is
yes,
each character
it is
has
the
like
highest
a difficulty
difficult
setting that goes up, and then each episode within each character goes up from there. Which I'm sure we'll get into the aspects of that because that's sort of one of my. I have thoughts about that.
Yeah. So I have beaten 11 of the main episodes from the main title, and then I've beaten 1 of the 3 Halloween DLC episodes.
Nice.
And
I'm assuming those, you said those were on the challenging side, the Halloween ones.
Yes, the witch one for the Halloween episode I think is very interesting, and this is a complete sidebar, but in that it is structured as a puzzle game, essentially. Like you need to beat every enemy in 1 turn, and if you don't, then their health resets, and you have to do it over again. So like there is a set solution for each. Well, I honestly think makes it easier in a way because it just turns it into a puzzle game.
Takes the choice out of the equation. Yeah.
Right. But there was a separate conversation that it wasn't even really a conversation, a thought that I was having like a month or 2 ago about the Dodos, the band, where they put out after one of my favorite albums that they had ever put out, they put out 2 singles that were unbelievable, like even better than the album that like they had just put out that was instantly one of my favorites of all time. And then when they put out the final album, they had reworked those 2 singles, and they reworked it into something that it just didn't vibe with me at all.
Oh no.
And I am going to say that after 11 episodes of this game, the most fun I had was with the first 2 episodes that I beat, and I have liked this game less and less with each successive episode.
Oh no, but I think I'm kind of having a similar experience, but what about you, Randall?
The witch is not as much fun, and granted, it's always less fun when you're not winning, but it's like I like the first 3 characters a lot. I like the robot character a lot too.
It took me a minute. The first run I had with the robot, I was like, what's going on? I think I skipped through the opening a little bit where I was like, I didn't, because each character does have like a kind of a gimmick or whatever, if you will. And I didn't fully understand what was happening there. But my second run, I was like, ooh, I like the robot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've beaten 4 with the robot. Robot is the
nice.
Robot is the character that I'm best at, but it is not the character that I most enjoy playing.
Which one?
Well, my experience so far has basically been I really just like playing the first chapter. Like, I wish there was ways that like the diff, because I already was starting to get to the point where like the game is, and I really am enjoying the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying my time with it, but I do feel like, for example, like when I would learn like a character in Slay the Spire, for example, like even though it takes a little time to learn that character and they are all very different. Once you kind of learn that character, you really kind of, or you're like, once you're kind of like, oh, these are the cards I'm kind of stacking on this run. Like, this is what I'm leaning into. Where on Dicey Dungeons, I still feel like for example, like the enemy cards that they have, I never really know what they have. You can look at them at any time you want, but it doesn't really matter. You don't really need to know what they actually are. Other than you might want to like weaken them or whatever. But I just feel like at the end of the day, whatever's going to happen happens, kind of. And then I just feel like I'm checking things too much. Like, oh, is it even or is it odd? Is it going to be a shield or is it going to be an attack? Is it like I can't get fully immersed in the experience because I am like reading menus a lot, I feel. And then when you add in like, oh, now not only is it the base layer with that character's gimmick, but now you have like, oh, you're also cursed, or you lose like 20% health each time. I forget what all the different like kind of things for that. I've only played episode 2 with a few characters, but even just that little like hitch that they throw into the gameplay or whatever, I was kind of like, I kind of wish it just got harder in the same, like with just the one character's twist or whatever. I kind of wish it didn't have the character twist plus more twists.
See, I really do like that aspect of it. And I think like the thing that is the most frustrating about this game is that it is so much a game that is so close to what I would absolutely adore.
It's almost perfect. Yeah.
Like
it could be like a lifetime game kind of.
And the fact that it is just so slightly off in every aspect makes it a little bit worse than if it was a game that was just completely off for me. Like so much of this game is like, I love the little twists that every character does. I love the little twists of every mode and like the strategizing of the status effects that you get. But like the most and I've been thinking about this game a lot. Like I've been trying to play more of it to see if like, you know, something will click with me, or like if there's something I'm not getting. And like what it comes down to is that like when you think of a roguelike like Slay the Spire, so much of that is just random chance where it's like, oh, I had a really good equipment loadout this time, or I ran into a bad enemy this time. Like the differences in an episode are very minimal. Like if you replay the same episode over and over again, like the layouts will be different, the enemies will be placed a little bit different, but they're pretty much going to be the same batch of enemies and the same apples. Same batch.
It's a little too scripted. Yeah, it's like every like it, because if you battle every enemy, you level up like you get to max level.
Yes.
And if you can skip that technically, but I don't see why you would. And I almost feel like I'm struggling between like I haven't found the right level of challenge yet, because I've either found it's like way too hard and it feels like unbalanced in that regard, or it's way too easy. Like I'm just kind of cakewalking through certain episodes. Without real. I don't have to really like think about my moves. Like I'll take a little damage here and there, but like I pretty much can do whatever and I would win. I feel.
I mean, there are some. I think the ones that it feels strongest are the ones where I have, you know, planned out and succeeded because of like, you know, planning like, oh, this is like I'm upgrading these specific items, or I'm only buying these items.
Yeah.
Like there are paths that you like can take to like play the game better, so to speak. But the most demoralizing thing is when you get to the second to last level or like second to last enemy and they just have great dice rolls. And like, it just wipes you out in like 2 turns. And it's like, cool. So the only thing that I need to do to succeed is play this same thing again, do the exact same thing that I just did. Like, I don't need to like, there's no learning. It's just, I just need to have better luck. And like that's the point of the game.
The motions.
Like I get that that's the point of the game.
Yeah, it's like Lady Luck is literally the host of the game show, and we should at least I should mention. I'm sure we all are enjoying the presentation of the game.
Yeah.
I really love the I don't know, just the character designs, even like the little like Lady Luck, like her voice acting or whatever, like blah 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 blah. Like I don't know, I just love the like different sounds for the characters, and it's very, very funny, very witty. Like it's so charming. The music's amazing. But I don't know. What are you feeling similarly, Randall? Are you sucked into this one, or
no? What John had just said there, like, really sparked my brain to think: why is it that Slay the Spire works when really the similar circumstance could happen? You could get on a great run and just get stomped into the ground by like a boss or a mini boss just because they had the right cards pop up, and it just is what it is. But
you're like, I had no chance on that run, no matter what I did.
Right. But the distinction is Slay the Spire and other roguelikes still give you some MacGuffin when you're done, right? And then that adds on to your next run and gives it a different flavor, where that's not really happening in Dicey Dungeons.
Yeah. Right.
It's more prescribed that way, like John was saying. Like all the layouts, they might be different, but it's the same elements.
Yeah,
essentially every time. So,
and
I think like that's the distinction.
Yeah, and I wonder if they had like that structure and like the roguelike is almost like forced on top of that, or vice versa. Like it's a roguelike and it like it like was almost given too much direction, where like maybe it could have embraced the procedural generation like just a little bit more. Which I say that with a grain of salt, because I was just playing a game earlier today that like I was complaining on a stream that I was like complaining about the procedural generation. This is more of like a platformer, but I was like, these levels, like they don't get stitched together in a way that like feels good to play. It just like, as cool as the game is otherwise, it's just like the flow of the game itself was like, it's not quite there. And it's like, maybe if this wasn't a roguelike and it just had levels, like the mechanics are fun, but it just really needs fun. Like levels They're that suit it. And
that's what's so frustrating. So I'm guessing none of you have encountered a parallel universe episode yet.
No.
So there's an elimination round episode, which all the enemies are just stronger and have upgraded equipment.
And is that just random? Like that just appears like
no,
when
like
you play sometimes, or that's
elimination
like the
round?
chapter?
I think is the third or fourth. It's the fourth chapter. Fifth chapter is parallel universe. So a fourth chapter is the same as standard rules, just harder. And I like that. I think that that's a fun round for a lot of them.
Yeah. I almost I wish I just had those two options, but
then the fifth one is parallel universe, where all like your mechanics have changed and also all the status effects change and all like the enemy like loadouts change. And like that was the most fun I had, because like you suddenly freeze works different, burn works different, and shield works, and like suddenly everything that you've learned like is completely turned on its head. And that was super fun to play. Like I love the way that this game, like the mechanics work. I love the way the enemies work, the enemy designs, like their loadouts, like how each one is so specific to.
Yeah, I do love that. Every
like
enemy
their move
feels very
set.
distinct.
It's so great, but like I wish there was just something different. Like it's so infuriating that like, and again, it boils down to like, this is personal preference. Like and it's just infuriating that it isn't hitting it all the right notes for me specifically, because like so much of this game I really enjoy and I really like, but like honestly I will just there was I did a run with the sixth character where I just kept rolling ones, and the first enemy rolled like sixes 3 times in a row, and I was like, cool, I just have to start this run over. Yeah, like on the first
which at
enemy.
Least better earlier than later, I guess.
But I'm like, that is such like a frustrating, like the way that they streamlined this roguelike to basically just make it RNG and like but it's not. That's being reductive. Like there's so much care and like stuff. like when I was still,
I think it's overly designed. If I had to like put anything on it, I think there's too much thought put into it, in my opinion.
I would disagree with that. I think it's a matter of it just being, it's a game designed around dice rolls, and dice rolls suck. Like
that's true, but I don't know, because like
that's the thing
we're
that
definitely
strips
just on
it of its being fun for me, is that it like is just dice rolls, and
because we're definitely on different wavelengths in that regard. Because like when you were mentioning about how like, oh, and it changes like how this works and this works, like that's the most frustrating part of the game for me. Like I want things to just work the way they work and learn it and then commit it to memory and just keep playing. Like that's my favorite part about a roguelike, is it just starts to feel comfortable. And this one, like I don't learn the ropes with any
feel
character.
like a roguelike to me.
That's what I mean. That's why that's kind of why I mentioned earlier. Like it almost feels like it's like forced onto this, like the roguelike structure is almost like forced onto the game. Like it would almost work better if it fully embraced it or just ditched it completely
and just went full puzzle game.
Yeah. And you'd still have the randomness coming from the dice rolls. Like it might be that there's the RNG from the proc gen and from the dice rolls, and it's just like there's too much randomness going on. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like back when I was only like 2 episodes or 3 episodes in, like it was before I had even unlocked challenges or whatever that was, and like. I was thinking at the time that my biggest complaint was that there wasn't a list of all the enemies or a list of all the weapons. And I was like, oh, that's, again, just a personal preference of mine. Like, I wish that I could see what all the, like, dice or the equipment stuff is and what all of the enemies are. And then once, like, the challenges came by and it was just, you could see all the enemies if you got specific challenges met, but still just want a compendium. I still just want an encyclopedia where I can see what all the things are instead of like, because I love all the equipment. I love the way that I'm so mad about this game that I like.
Even the way you can like upgrade stuff, like it does feel like you like, because the decisions you can make are pretty limited. Like, you know, whether you can carry it obviously depends on the character, but like, you know, you have backpack space and you have like, you only get a certain number of like these anvils where you can like level up a card. Sometimes you can even buy one of those in the store, like a card upgrade, but it's pretty limited. You can only make a couple of choices that are going to make like a meaningful impact in your run. But that feels good, you know, instead of just having a million choices to make. It feels like, hey, I only have like 3 choices to make on this run. I got to make them count. I just, at least, again, I've only played the early chapters, but I just felt like, I feel like there's too much shit to remember when I play these later chapters. And I don't know, just can't get into like the flow state while I'm playing.
I can on the early levels, and I think I generally had a better time than either one of you had, but I think I was starting to run into the wall that we've been talking about as we got closer to recording this podcast and playing through like The Witch multiple times and losing in the same way, basically.
Thing, but like
The Witch is a really cool concept, because basically like each turn you're like, at the end of each turn, you have to like sacrifice one of your cards to like turn into like your like equipment. You basically like, I'm sick of my old equipment. You just like throw it out and turn a card into like your like secondary like quirk ability or whatever. But I feel like it's, because then you're like, oh, I don't really want to upgrade any of my equipment because I might just have to ditch one of these cards like down the line. Like, I don't know. Or am I thinking of the thief? I'm totally thinking of the inventor. I'm totally thinking of the inventor.
The inventor has like a really cool one where
it is the inventor.
There's one of the episodes is you have your equipment, and instead of like it just has like durability. Like you can use it as many times.
Book. Yeah, the witch is the spell book, and then you like each number of the die is like a different spell. That it's cool. Yeah, I've only played one run with the witch, but I was like, again, it's like, I don't know. I guess when I play like a replayable roguelike, I want something I can just get into really quick and not have to think about the moves I'm making all that much. Even if it is a strategy game, like I'm just thinking about that one move I'm making, where I feel like I probably would have a better time if I wasn't trying to like, once I saw you guys had played with all 5 characters, I was like, oh, I got to catch up shit. Where maybe if I would have just sunk into like, let me just play through the first character and go through the motions and like then play the second character. Maybe I'd have a better time with it instead of bouncing around so much. I don't know.
I don't know.
Which there are 6 characters, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to unlock that 6th character with the way my runs have been going.
I don't even know how I unlocked the 6th character.
I was going to say, I wonder what you had to do, because it didn't sound like you
I did an elimination round, and I did a parallel universe round. I'm not sure which one unlocked.
Nice.
But the 6th character is also really cool. It's a deck building mechanic.
Oh.
Like literally cards, and it's cool, and it's great, but it's also fucking hard, and sometimes you just lose because you roll the dice bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's a great mechanic in that where one of the challenge runs with a deck building mechanic is I forget what, because again each episode has like a cute little title, and one of them for the 6th character is Finders Keepers, and you get all of the equipment from the enemies that you defeat.
Oh,
so
wow.
You then have to start really like deleting cards, like instead of like there are upgrades like that you can buy, but you also just you can buy deleting cards because there's so many cards in your deck, and so much of it is just junk. It's a real. There's so many good ideas.
Yes.
There's so many good mechanics in this game, and it's infuriating that I don't love it. I'm so mad.
I will say I am curious too, because for me the presentation goes a long way, and that's with any game. But is that part of what's like pulling you to want to like it more? Because I think that's it for me. Like, because I keep getting the song stuck in my head. I keep I don't know. I think about the game, like you said, quite a bit, but I'm not necessarily thinking about like the gameplay. I'm just kind of thinking about like the mood of the game, or like the tone, the energy of the game. But I think that's really the main draw for me, is I just kind of like the presentation more than the game itself.
Legitimately, I think this is one of the greatest video game soundtracks of all time.
It's amazing.
Like it's amazing, bar none. And like I honestly think that it's a race between this Terry Kavanagh and Chipsel game and the other Terry Kavanagh and Chipsel game, Super Hexagon, where like I think those are just 2 absolutely unbelievable soundtracks to a game. And I don't know, like maybe I just really, really want to keep listening to these songs because they fucking rule. So
they're on Bandcamp. I bought the soundtrack on Bandcamp.
I listened to it for like when it first came out, like when it wasn't ported to anything I owned. Like I just listened to the soundtrack and I was like, yeah, this is fucking good. This is
great.
It's really impressive how much it jams, but at the same time it's really chill. Like I never feel like it gets my adrenaline pumping, but I don't feel like I'm playing an action game at the same time, if that makes sense. But it has that feel, like I don't know, but it doesn't put the pressure on, like, oh, I got to make a decision or I got to make a move. Like I still feel like I can just take my time.
Oh yeah.
But it really keeps it doesn't feel like you're playing like a
up.
slow paced puzzle game. Yeah, it really feels like you're just like everything's chugging along.
Yeah,
and that's not easy to do, I don't think, with a game that has like gameplay wise has a pace like this, to make it feel like you're playing something kind of actiony and frantic.
Like a battle.
Yeah,
I will say also the Halloween DLC, like there's a little bit of like Halloweeniness added to the soundtrack, and all of the enemies are dressed in costumes.
Oh man,
there's some really cool enemy designs too.
The enemy designs and the enemy equipment is so good. Like everything, like this game is so well crafted. I'm just I'm so pissed that I don't unequivocally love this game.
Yeah. Well, we got one resolution game out of the way. Hopefully, I think we can. I think it's safe to say, at least on my behalf, I'm not going to wait till the last fucking second so that we have to reshuffle episodes. I'm going to get into Luigi's Mansion a little sooner.
All right, we'll see, Kevin.
Maybe at the very least, I can like dig into it around Halloween or something. I can use that as an excuse, so I'm not waiting till the last wire. And then what is yours again, Randall?
It is Panzer Dragoon Saga, and I will tell you that I am already on disc 3 of 4.
Oh my God. Oh. Okay, I was gonna say, I know you said you started it, but I didn't know you were that far along.
Yes, sir.
All right. Damn. Well, man, I got to get to work. I guess I got to get a little sooner than Halloween, maybe Easter here. But anyways, I don't know. Any more thoughts on Dicey Dungeons or anything else, guys? Or good to wrap it up?
We're good.
Yep.
Nice. Well, yeah, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. We're all over the place these days. We're everywhere on the internet. I'm going to try to keep the outro here short and sweet. But yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode. And until then, we will catch you next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm bummed that we're all kind of in the same boat about Dicey Dungeons.
I know. I wasn't expecting that at all.
I started really hot on that game too.
I was so hot.
I need to play this game.
I know.
The first 2 episodes, I was in love with this game because
I was in, man.
Yeah.
As soon as like the thief was a character, I was like, this is the best. And like then like the robot, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I like this. And then the inventor, I was like, okay. And then like
it slows down
which
the
was
pace
the
a little
first
too much.
one
It
that I
does
lost.
slow down. Yeah.
Which was the first one that I like lost miserably at, and then continued to lose miserably at, and like, oh my god, do you guys want spoilers on what the last character is?
I'm okay with that. Yeah,
it's the Jester.
Okay.
The Jester is like, I think you guys can do it. I think you guys can break out of this. Like,
nice.
And then like he betrays Lady Luck, and Lady Luck gets pissed and like turns him into a dice.
I love that.
It's so good. Like so
like
much
the
of
world
this game
building.
rules.
Yeah.
So much of this game is so good, and like I was
even
playing,
the little dialogue, like even just like setting up the episodes is great.
Yeah, it's all
like,
cute. Yeah,
like wow, what do you really want? Oh, okay, I guess I'll take 4 million followers or whatever. Like it's so cute.
But like the same way that like I can kind of tell like from like Lauren is like I was playing it and she was like, maybe you should play a game that doesn't make you angry. And I was like, yeah, that's a good metric.
I'm emanating that energy.
I'm really not enjoying this.
This is my resolution game. I had to play it.
I need to play it enough to know that I don't like it.
Exactly.
This game defines 2022 for me. Don't you understand?
So I'm going to play either Moonglow Bay or Death's Door now to like.
Oh, if you play Death's Door, let me know. I started that actually. I've only played like maybe 20 minutes or something, but I keep going, maybe I'll stream that or something.